Nonetheless, topwaters here, many of y'all know, that's my favorite way to catch them. I think I live for topwater fishing on this lake. I get a lot of questions about it, and I want to kind of run through just the basic setup as to what I throw. Get a lot of questions about fishing braid on topwater. I used to exclusively fish 20-pound monofilament when I was fishing topwater. Now, 5 or 6 years ago, made the switch to braid, and I'm going to kind of explain you know, the reason why I switched to braid, and I'm also going to kind of walk you through a few different tips that's going to help you land more fish when you're using it. So to start with, whenever I'm fishing with braid, I use 2 casting rods. Since I switched to Daiwa last year, I found 2 rods that work perfect for fishing a big topwater, and I'm going to tell you why. Super light, number 1. Fishing a topwater all day, as many of y'all know, it can wear you out. I use a 7.3 multi-purpose Tatula Elite rod, and I also use this one right here. It's a 7.4 Tatula Elite big topwater rod. The 7.3 multi-purpose I found is just the best rod overall. I use that rod not only for topwater fishing, I throw spinner baits with it, chatter baits with it. I fish a lot of different things with that. You can throw a small jig, Texas rig, works great for topwater. The 7.4 big topwater rod has got a good backbone to it, but it's got a lot of tip. And I found that it throws big walking baits even further than any rod I've ever used before for throwing a topwater. And again, it's super light. Always pair these up. This right here is an 8-to-1. Sometimes I will use a 7-to-1 also. It's Tatula SV. This one right here's got the purple ring indicating that it's an 8-to-1. 50-pound Seaguar flipping braid. The reason I use flipping braid is because it's black. You may be able to see right there in that. I just don't like using braid for surface baits in clear water where the, you know, it may be green or a different color. I prefer black. It's something that doesn't show up and the fish don't really see it, and you know, they just kind of focus in on the bait, not the bright colored braid in front of them. Now, the most important part about fishing with braid when you're throwing a topwater, a couple things. A lot of guys may may make the mistake of thinking, well, hey, I've got braid, it's not going to break. Let me just crank my drag down, and just reel them in. Big mistake. I'm going to tell you why. Something between you and that fish is going to give. And if it's not the hooks, it can be the fish's mouth. You can make that hole bigger, stretch it out, therefore lose that fish. So what you're going to do is back your drag off just a little bit where your line will still slip. And another really important thing that I do, regardless of whatever walking bait you may be throwing, is change the hooks out. Upsize them, use a little bit thicker, heavier gauge hook. You're going to land a lot more fish that way. So a lot of times you may get a bait right out of the package. It's not set up for fishing straight braid. Maybe a thinner wire hook, something that's going to bend out. Another little tip with fishing a topwater on braid is that whenever I'm fishing it, I want to keep constant pressure on that fish. You may you know, have a big fish on topwater and you want to kind of get down low and try to fight him around. Not necessarily the case with this. I want to keep pressure on him, keep him coming to the boat, get my buddy ready with the net, or hop down there lipping, whatever you choose to do. But keep him coming. Unless he's a really giant one, a lot of times I'm going to swing him in the boat. Just want to keep pressure on him. Now, another bait that's going to work really well out here this time of year is just a soft plastic jerk bait. This is right here, this is a Streaks. It's actually a scented jerk shaz, which is the saltwater version of it, just because it has some Procure scent on it. The Streaks is also the same bait, soft plastic jerk bait. This is a Z-Man Elastec. You'll fish this bait all day. I use 2 colors primarily. You know, any type of white pearl works really well, but the color that I like to use the most is just called Ralph Shad. I don't know if you can see it very well. Try to get it close to the camera. It's got a blue, like a dark kind of steel blue back, got some green glitter, you know, silver glitter in it, and a nice translucent bottom. It looks just like a blueback. Using it on a weighted wide gap hook, and I'll throw this out really everywhere, guys. You can let this thing sink down kind of near 20 foot, 25 foot brush, pop it along. You can work it well right underneath the surface. Many of y'all know this right here is a fish catcher on Lanier. Not only in the summertime, you can catch them in the early spring, you can catch them in the fall also. But this right here is an awesome color. Like I said, it's called Ralph Shad. Look it up. I'll use smoky shad also, just any type of natural shad color. Smelt works really good too. Just anything that looks like a blueback, and you can't go wrong. But that's a little tip, and I want to throw one other thing out there to you when you're fishing the topwater. You know, a lot of guys that I take out on trips, they're not using bait casters. A lot of times guys will use spinning rods, and on most trips, that's what people are going to be using all day. And I want to kind of walk you through that setup and show you a little tip that's going to help you out. So when I'm using a spinning rod, one I prefer, 7.3 drop shot rod. It's a drop shot shaky head underspin. It's just a really good all-around rod. It's a Tatula Elite 7.3. Using a 3000 series Tatula LT spinning reel, picks up a ton of line per crank. 20-pound smackdown, stealth gray, basic setup. I'm using a full spool of line. Now many times I will run the braid straight to the bait. Well, with a walking bait specifically, I'm gonna put a short leader. It's not necessarily for the fish not to see the line. What it does is it keeps the bait from walking back over top of the braid. So on a chug bug style bait, a popping style bait, I will just tie it straight to it, straight braid. With a walking bait, it's very difficult for the average angler to fish straight braid on a spinning rod with a walking bait. You'll find that almost every cast, as soon as the bait hits the water, or right when they're reeling it up, you'll find that it gets tangled, the walk itself kind of right over the braid. So that little short leader right there helps keep the bait out free from the line, work it easy, and it adds that factor too, that the fish aren't going to see the line right there at the bait. I will use a modified Albright knot every time when I'm tying a leader like that for topwater. Anyway, be safe out here in the summer. Always wear your life jacket when you're driving the boat. Hope to see you guys on the water, and best of luck to you.